So, good morning and good day in the United States, good evening in Europe. Welcome to this webinar on mPortal, the CMS module of the Marketing Content Hub, or shortly M. Thank you all for joining. My name is Ben, I'm in charge of marketing at Stylelabs. This is a webinar with limited time, so before our product service manager Wim dives deeper into mPortal, I'd like to start with a very short introduction on M. M is a high-tech cloud enterprise content marketing software suite that allows companies and their users to have all their marketing content in one place. The core mission of M is to provide a 360-degree interaction on all of your marketing content and processes. M is basically a database. It stores data like specific media and layout files and allows to build mashups between existing content and newly created content. M not only covers the usual use cases of DAM and PCM, but also integrates and extends them. But this does not mean that M is yet another silo. It really acts as a hub that connects and allows you other platforms to easily plug in to deliver data. There is a multitude of processes going on where people all collaborate around your brand and marketing materials. In order to support and streamline those processes, we also add tools for creative project management and collaboration. All of these features were shown in our last webinar that you can find on our website. Today, we will show you the final piece in M that turns the application into a marketing portal. mPortal adds web content management tools that allow you to build a site around the core. A marketing portal can accommodate practical information such as brand guidelines, campaign or product briefings and support. But more exciting is to use it as a communication channel that allows you to set up a dialogue with your marketing community. I'd like to hand over to Wim now, who will guide you through the different features and use cases of mPortal. Please enjoy.
Thank you, Ben. Also welcome from my side. So I will, during the demo, walk you through some different cases of and features of mPortal. So we'll walk through them one by one. First of the things I'd like to share with you is the fact that our UIs, the mPortal UI, is fully responsive. So I'll start with demoing this. So I've now switched to my browser. I am already logged on into my demo environment. And what we see when we get onto the environment is the homepage, of course. And first thing I'd like to share with you is if I play with the screen size of my browser, you will see that the tiles on the homepage will reorder. So they will adapt themselves according to the available width of the space, width of the page. So if I make the page even a lot smaller, for example, the available space, for example, for an iPhone, we see that even the menu is hidden behind this button. So basically it allows to use the Marketing Content Hub on all kinds of devices from iPhones to regular browsers, desktop browsers. So we have now the example of the homepage, the responsive behavior of the homepage. Also, all of our other pages are responsive as well. So if I, for example, would go to our search page, you'll see that also the search page itself is also fully responsive. So for example, now also all of the search results are shown in one column because we only have the ability to use this limited space. And for example, the known facet panel, the filter panel, is now also collapsing and expanding behind this little button. If I would make the screen more wider, you will see that again the mPortal reorganize itself and the panels on the pages according to the available widths. So that's an important aspect. All of the devices are supported, and this is basically the case for all of our pages, not only homepage and search page. It's really everything. Second thing I'd like to share with you is the concepts and the flexibility of our homepage styles. So if I switch back to my demo environment and if I go to the homepage, what do we see? we see on the homepage a number of tiles. Which kind of tiles do we see? We see getting started, we see a piece of text, learn how to get something out of your marketing content hub. We have a tile about my downloads, we have a tile about my saved searches, and so on. So what I'd like to show you now is actually the flexibility of how to manage this homepage. In order to do so, I will go to the Manage area of M and to the more specific to the M portal management area. So I'll open the admin section of M portal into a separate tab. And when we open this section, we get by default on the configuration of the homepage itself. So what do we see on this page? We see on the left hand all of the available pages in the system, from the homepage until the search page until detail pages. All of them are configurable using our M portal. And on the right hand, we see the current components or homepage styles on the homepage. So for example, one of the nice things on the homepage is changing the order of the tiles, because you might want to prefer certain tiles before other ones. So how do you change this? It's pretty easy. Just use drag and drop. So for example, I will switch my downloads under saved searches by just doing drag and drop. I refresh my homepage. So now, before I refresh, downloads is the first one after the getting started. After my refresh, we can clearly see that my downloads is now moved to the third location after my saved searches and the getting started. So this is a way, for example, to play with the orders of the tiles on a homepage. Next thing, or next step I'd like to share with you is the concept of adding new tiles on the homepage, because of course, because content changes, life changes, we would want to add new stuff on this homepage. So for this demo, I had the following thing in mind. Imagine that we are working for a company which sells quite some products. So we have an M content where we have the or a database which contains quite some products in the system. So if I filter on my search page for products, we see we have, like in this case, 7 products. Imagine that I want to preview, for example, the latest 3 approved or 2 approved products on my homepage as a kind of preview in order to promote them to the marketeers of my company. So how do I approach? Well, I go back to my portal area, my admin area. And on my homepage, I can also, instead of reordering, I can also add new tiles by clicking this little plus icon. And one of the first things I need to do is I have to select a certain type. I will now go for the entity list. The other types will be explained later on. So we will call it new products. There we go. One of the first things we have to do in order to configure this tile is to actually choose the amount of space it should take on our homepage. So the tile dimensions. And what do I exactly mean with this? Let's quickly get back here to the homepage. So looks like I forgot to check this little item. So sorry for this small issue. So where were we? We've created the product style. So, and what we've done is, or what I was about to explain, is actually the amount of space the tile should take. So what is the amount of space? If we have a look at the existing tiles over here, we see, for example, that my saved searches is taking more space than the manage tile. Yes. So basically we define this in the amount of, let's say, columns and rows a certain tile should take. So we have a number of options from one by one by two. So 1 row, 2 columns, two rows, 1 column, etc. and so on. In this case, I will go for a 2 by 2. Then another thing we can choose is the skin, and the skin is basically the way how we render the tiles, so the colors of the background and the colors of the text. So we have here an orange with orange background with white text, or a yellow background with orange text. This is basically defined by your skills, by your skins. So we've now chosen this. The next thing I will do is actually define what exactly I'd like to show. I mentioned the fact that I'd like to show information of my products which are in my mContent database. So let's quickly have a look at what we have there. So if I filter for products, we see that we have 7 products, and each of the products have a certain thumbnail, a preview, a title, and a description. So this is also what I'd like to preview on my homepage from those new assets. So I go to the detail of my entity list, and when I get onto the detail, I basically need to define 2 things. I need to define my query, so what information do I like to show, and I need to define how does it look like, how should the outputs be rendered. So let's start with the beginning. First thing I need to select is the type of object I'd like to show. In this case, I will go for products. If we switch back and if we have a look in our mContent, we see we also have other objects like SKUs, products, assets. So we have a bunch of things we could choose. So I'll go for products. I only want to show the latest 2 products. So I tell the system only take 2. And then I'd like to sort them. Because I want to go for the newest one, I will sort them based on the created on property or field in a descending way. There we go. And then I will go for selecting the outputs. And the most important option here is the selection of the templates. And the selection of the templates, you can basically choose between list and table, with or without a certain image. So I'll already show you what the current state of this entity list is now looking like, just to see how it grows step by step. So we have selected our query, we go for products, for 2 products, and we want to go for a list with an image. If I would now and I will now log in with actually a certain sales users. If I will log in with the sales users, what do we see? We see already our new tile. We see so far only the 2 images of our product. And that's not everything we want to see. We want to see more. So next thing I will do is I will also configure the homepage style to also show the title and the description. And how do we do this? Well, there's the output list. And using the output list, we can basically define which part of the metadata of our products we have or we want to show. So one of the things I would like to show is the name. I can choose a certain format, which is basically resulting in the font size used in the outputs, and I can also provide the link templates, which is resulting into a hyperlink to the detail of the object we are rendering. In this case, the product. There we go. And now I will also go for another property, which is the description. I also want to show this. And then I don't want to render this as a title, I want to render it as a paragraph, and I don't need a hyperlink for this. Okay. So let's save again, and now switch back to my sales users. And if I now refresh, we now see that the title appears together with a hyperlink and the description appears. So that's an example of creating a homepage style. There are several other cases. For example, the case where you have a shortcut to a search page, etc., etc. There's multiple possibilities. So that about the homepage styles. Let's now quickly switch back to the presentation for the next case of mPortal. So the next case is actually a bit in the same area, but imagine that what we've done so far should also work for multi-branded companies. So what mPortal is capable of doing is, for customers with multiple brands, we can set up user accounts, user profiles, which get different look and feels when they log onto the system, and also have different content. Yes, so how does this look like? So my first type of users I already have shown. So in the demo I have actually two brands foreseen. There's a wine brand with a wine sales user. So in this guy sees the wine look and feel, which is basically the M out of the box look and feel. So he sees he sees wine products and wine assets. So I will now log off with this user and log in again into exactly the same environment, so in the same database, the same M, but with another user, which is a Microsoft user. And when I will log on with this user, you'll see into exactly the same environment, you'll see that this user is somehow attached to another brand, and this attachment or this link to the brand gives him a total different experience. You see that the visual is different, the logo is different, the colors are different, and even the content is different. Because, and this is triggered by our security, it allows also to make multi-branded on content level. So that's actually fully supported by the portal as well. Last part I'd like to share about mPortal is setting up a brand portal. So what if we want to communicate with our marketing community about brand guidelines, for example? Well, using mPortal, it's also possible to create new editorial pages. How do we do this? Well, I will go back to the admin area of mPortal using portal management. There we go. So we are again on the home page, like the exercise with the homepage styles. I will now go to a page which I have already a bit prepared, because we are of course a bit limited in time. So it's a guidelines page, and we have a number of sub-pages over here. The Our Brand, the Colors, and the Logos page. I will open the Logos page in the admin UI. And when I go to the admin UI, we see we already have one component on the page. Let's quickly have a look at what the current state of the page is. So this kind of previews the page for you. So how does it look like for the end users? So this is what we have so far. It's an explanation about the usage of logos of a certain brand. So what if I would want to adjust the page? I would like, for example, to add an image, add a piece of editorial content text. Well, I go to the edit mode of the components. I'll click this little icon, and this brings the text into edit mode. And for example, it allows me to, with the WYSIWYG editor, to add some text like this. I put it in bold, for example. I'd like to add an image, and when I'm adding an image, I'm actually prompted a search page which allows me to select editorial assets in the system. So because editorial assets are actually not meant to be in my DEM, we have a separate area for this. So users can really define those are assets for my DEM. Those are assets, rather static assets for my editorial content pages. So I will select one of the, from the editorial assets. I can, for example, select the size, a thumbnail, a large one, and a massive one. There we go. We save the changes, or update the changes and save the changes here as well. And you'll see if I now refresh my page, my changes will appear. So it's typical CMS capabilities. There's quite some other capabilities as well. I will quickly show you. There's the concept of tables, progress bars, list, light boxes, even video rendering from other streaming sources like YouTube, Vimeo, etc., etc. So there's quite some capabilities. But I think most people are used to CMS capabilities in general. Another thing, and a very nice thing I'd like to share about the editorial pages, is actually the concept of mixing this rather static editorial content with content from my DEM. Because I'm actually now interested in pushing my marketing users to use the approved logos. Hey, this is a page about logos. We have quite some logos in our DEM already available. Sorry, I don't need a new window. There's in the DEM already some logos available. And I actually like to promote those logos on this editorial page. So I have a saved search, logos about M in general. So what I will do right now is I will connect those logos from the DEM into this page. Well, how do I do? I create now a new component on this logos page, so which is a second type, which we haven't seen so far, the saved search grid. Let's say logos, like this. I edit it. And the only thing I have to do right now is I have to select which kind of saved search from my DEM I'd like to show. I click Save, switch back to my logos page. So I've added this component to this page, and if I now refresh, I have on the bottom of my page now all of the assets, the logo assets from within my DEM. So if I click on the thumbnail, I even get the flyouts, I get the capabilities to download them. This is also secured, so imagine that certain people should only be able to access certain data. Also the assets shown over here are secured. So you will never, people will never see data they should not see. Last thing I'd like to share on the brand portal is the fact that we can also play with the site structure. So we have now created our new guidelines page. Imagine that we want to show the guidelines page as an extra item in our menu. How do we do this? Well, we'll take one step back. We are in our logos page. I will go to the guidelines parent page of the logos page. And in order to do this, I will go to the info tab. And in the info tab, I have a checkbox appears in menu. I check this one, I click Save and refresh the page. And we see that guidelines appears over here, very easy. And then we have, of course, the links, which can then be used by the business users to get to the page we just created. So that's about it. In a nutshell, the overview on mPortal. Thank you for attending. What I like to share with you is what's upcoming for our next webinar. In our next webinar, I will show you how you can, as an administrator, create your own search page. So you will be able to configure everything which you need to create your own search page. Thanks all of you, and if there's any questions, I'm happy to answer them right now. Please use the chat box for adding questions.